Vasily Kryakov left the mine 10 minutes later, years after his own funeral. Wife fainted right on the porch. Son, who was 5 then and is now 15, did not recognize his father. But the strangest thing was, friend, Vasily hasn't aged a day. 38 years old on paper and 38 in the mirror. No wrinkles, no gray hair. The skin is clean hands, without coal dust scars. And one more detail that was noticed, only in 3 days. At night when I was undressing before going to bed, and my wife saw me, a faint greenish shimmer on his chest. It was as if there was a smoldering fire burning under the skin. Phosphorus. Doctors took pictures of the lungs and fell silent. In the lungs of a miner, 20 years of experience, there was not a speck of dust. Coal, completely pink and clean, like baby. Blood tests showed the composition, which is not found in humans. Working underground. Head physician. The city hospital asked Vasily, "Don't tell anyone the results." He said it would take time. And in a week, people in gray arrived in the city without shoulder strap, no documents, only service ones. Certificates with a coat of arms and seal, which no one had seen before. What do you think is real? Is located underground at a depth greater than kilometers? Write in the comments if. Are you ready to know the truth from us? Hidden for the last 70 years. It all started in 2007. Mine number 17 near Vorkuta is the most, deep in the north, 100 m vertical. Trunk, then horizontal workings. Another 300 m. The coal there was special. Anthracite, pure and dense as stone. Kryakov's team worked at the very bottom end. The slaughterhouse where only the old ones went down. Verified people. They didn't take young people there. Too dangerous. Too deep. April 23rd. Second shift. A team of 6 people. Kryakov, Brigadier Simonov, Kalko Rybakov Petrovich, Max and Lyoka. All locals, all with families, all with 20 years of experience behind me. They worked quietly, without rushing, checking. Reinforcements every 10 m. But the mountains don't ask. Permissions. The first shot came in. 1440, the hum that was felt not. With ears but with bones. Semnov shouted, "Lights out!" Everyone ran to the exit. Second, the blow hit them within 15 seconds. Roof. Collapsed immediately by 20 m. Kryakov was the last one. I saw a wall of rock. Covers the passage. Managed to jump away. Back. The lights went out. There's only one lantern left. On the helmet and the darkness that was pressing. Heavier than a stone. They searched for him for 8 days. They cleared the rubble and drilled bypass pits. Geophones were lowered to pick up the sound. Nothing. Mine rescuers said that there would be enough air there for a day. Maximum 2. After that, the family received compensation and a death certificate. In production and 2 sections on. City cemetery. One for the monument. The second one for the cross. The coffin was lowered empty. This is what they always did when the body was not found. My wife Lydia sat for a month. Son Anton stopped speaking for 6 months. City forgot. My number 17 worked for another 3 years. Then it was mothballed. They said that the layer was exhausted. That the coal content has dropped. Actually strange things started happening. People heard sounds. From the depths. Not collapses, not rock shifts. Something else. A hum, rhythmic and low, as if someone was breathing underground. The workers refused to go down. 2. The teams quit a month ago. Director tried to hide the rumors, but in a small way. In the city, everyone knows everything. In 2010, the mine was closed permanently. Entrance, welded with steel sheets filled. Crushed stone, installed concrete blocks. Security, remove a year later. Why protect what? Dead? Vasily Kryakov returned in April 2017, exactly 10 years after the collapse. He Came on foot from the industrial zone where it stood. Old mine. The clothes he was wearing were the same. That 10 years ago. Overalls, boots, helmet. Everything is clean. No dust, no stains. As if he had just been given out. Warehouse. He was walking down the main street, and people. At first they didn't recognize me. Then someone, I remembered, woman from the grocery store, screamed. A man ran out of the pharmacy. Street and froze. Kryakov reached his house and went up. Porch. Knocked. Lydia opened the door and fell. Anton called an ambulance. Doctors. They arrived 15 minutes later and didn't believe it. Eyes. The dead man stood on the threshold and asked for water. They measured the pulse. Pressure, temperature. Everything is fine, even, better than normal. Pulse 62 beats, pressure. 120 to 70. Temperature 36.6. Ideal indicators for a person who spent 10 years underground without food, water, and air. Lydia came to her senses an hour later and looked at her husband and cried, not from joy, but from fear. She saw that it was him, but something was wrong. Look, skin, movement, all familiar, but changed. It's like someone took a person and rewrote it again, keeping only form. Anton didn't come up. He stood in the corner of the room and looked. He was 15. He grew up without. Father got used to the idea that he was dead. Now the dead man was sitting on the sofa, drinking tea, and smiled. This was wrong. This violated all the laws of the world that the boy knew. Kryakov spoke calmly, without emotion, without haste, as if talked about a typical workday. He said that after the collapse, he found himself in dead end, no way out. There should have been air, enough for a day, but he did not suffocate. The wall behind him, where was solid rock, began to glow. Green light, dim, like that of a night owl. I came up to the stone and touched it. It was warm and wet, as if there wasn't a ton behind it. Breathes, but something living. The wall cracked neither from the impact nor from explosion. It's as if it was discovered by itself. From the inside, behind her, there was a narrow passage, a meter in, with slightly higher than human height. The walls are covered with something soft and fibrous. Kryakov thought that it was moss, but moss doesn't grow underground. Not on such depth, not without light. He went forward. There was no choice. The way back, blocked. At least there is some hope ahead. The headlamp on the helmet shone for about 5 meters. Beyond is darkness, but strange darkness. Not dead but alive, as if she moved, breathed, looked. After 100 minutes, the passage widened. Kryakov. I came out into a large cave, about 50 meters, diameter with high arches, and there was the light is not from a lantern. The light came from everywhere. From walls, from the floor, from the ceiling. Green, soft, smooth. Kryakov turned off the flashlight. There was enough light to see. There were huge mushrooms growing on the walls. Plate, hats are round and smooth. Legs, thick as a child's hand. They were glowing. Not bright, but enough. Kryakov approached, touched. The hat is elastic and warm. Moist. The stem is dense, almost like tree. He picked one mushroom and sniffed it. The smell of earth, grass, something else. Unfamiliar. Hollowed wing on the 3rd day. There was water. And a trickle of water was oozing from a crack in the corner cave. In stone. Clean, cold, odorless. Kryakov drank and thought about what to do next. There was no food. He looked at all the walls, everything. Passages. Found 3 exits in the cave, but each one led down, deeper to where it came from. Light. On the 4th day, he ate the mushroom. Cut it off. I cut a piece with a knife and chewed it. The taste is strange, no, disgusting, but also unpleasant. As if I ate. Earth mixed with something sweet. Swallowed and waited. Nothing happened. No nausea, no pain, no fever. In 1 hour. Ate another piece, then another. I finished it by evening. The whole mushroom was asleep. On the 6th day, Kryakov went deeper, chose the left passage, because that's where the brightest light came from. The descent took a long time, 2 hours, maybe more. The clock stopped on the first day. After the collapse, I walked maybe 500 meters. Kilometer. There were no landmarks, only walls, ceiling in this damn green. Light. I went out into a huge hall, about 200 meters. Length, 100 in width. The ceiling was lost. Somewhere above, in the darkness, the whole hall was covered with mushrooms, thousands, tens of thousands. Different sizes, from a palm to a meter in diameter. Everyone was glowing. The hall sparkled, as if thousands of light bulbs were burning inside. There was a structure in the middle of the hall. Kryakov did not immediately understand what it was. I thought about it. First of all, that's stalagmite, natural. Education. Came closer, took a closer look. It looks like a column. Meters, 3 in height, 1 meter in diameter. The surface is smooth, without cracks, without seams. The color is dark, almost black, but with green veins that pulsated slowly once every few seconds, like a heartbeat. Klukov touched something warm, at hand. The feeling that you are touching not a stone, but skin dense, thick, but alive. He walked around the column. On the other side, there was a depression round about 30 centimeters. Diameter 10 centimeters deep. There was something shining inside. Klukov bent down and looked in. The liquid is thick, dark, with a green tint. It smelled the same, like mushrooms. He didn't know why, but he crossed out the liquid with your palm. Warm, almost hot. I sniffed it. The smell intensified, became sharp and pungent. My head started spinning. Kryakov retreated, wiped his hand on his overalls. The palm was burning. It doesn't hurt, but it's noticeable as if it dipped in hot water. He left the hall, quickly, almost running. Incomprehensible fear covered it as soon as it touched. Liquidity. Fear is not from danger, but from understanding that he is not where he is. There must be a person that this place is not. For people there never was. Return to the first cave where they grew. Mushrooms, sat down by the wall, closed his eyes. Palm continued to burn. He looked. Leather has changed. It became darker, denser. In the place where the liquid was, there appeared thin green lines, like capillaries, only bright, glowing ones. A day later the lines disappeared. The palm became ordinary, but the feeling remained. Kryakov felt like there was something inside him. Has changed. Not physically, deeper, like as if someone had reconfigured it to something else. Frequency. And now he hears what? I haven't heard of it before. Kryakov realized that someone was drilling from above, surfaces. He didn't know why, but he knew that this is important, that this is a sign that it is time. The creatures looked at him. All 40. Human. Silently. Kryakov nodded. They came up and stood around. One of them held out the package. The fabric is gray, soft, like moss. There's something hard inside. Cold. Kryakov turned around. Stones. 3 fist-sized pieces. Black, smooth, with green veins. They didn't glow, but Kryakov felt the warmth emanating from them. Second bundle. Smaller, lighter. There's a metal plate inside. Square. 10 by 10 centimeters thick. Millimeter 2. On the surface there are symbols. No letters, no numbers. Something else. Lines. Crooked circles. They formed a pattern, which was painful to watch. Kryakov turned away and wrapped the plate back. The creatures moved away and showed the way up. Kryakov climbed for a long time. Kilometer, 2 or 3. The passages became. Already, the light was fading. He came out in first. The cave where he spent the first days after. Collapse. Mushrooms were still growing here, but there were less. The light is weaker. Further on there was a blockage, the very one that blocked the exit 10 years ago. But now there was a narrow hole in it, meter in diameter. Light was shining through it from above, not green, white daylight. Kryakov approached, looked in. The gray sky was visible above. Cloudy, native. He crawled through the hole and climbed out. Surface. Industrial zone of the old mine. Concrete blocks, rusty pipes. Abandoned mine carts. Not a soul. Klukov looked around. Everything has changed. 10 years. Grass grew through the asphalt. Paint on. The buildings are peeling. The windows are broken. The place died. He went into the city, walking slowly, looked around. Everything is familiar, but other. New signs, new cars, new faces. People looked at him. Strange, they didn't recognize it, but they felt it that something is wrong. A man in dirty clothes. He's wearing a jumpsuit with a fairy tale on his head. In the middle of the day on the main street. Like, as if he had just come out of a mine, which closed for 10 years. Kryakov reached his house and knocked. Lydia opened it and fell. After the hospital, questions began. Police, investigators, doctors. Everyone wanted to know where he was. How? Survived. Why did he come back? Kryakov spoke honestly about the collapse, about cave, about mushrooms, about creatures. Nobody believed. The investigator said that it was hallucinations, that he survived the air crash. Pocket ate Moss or Shanicki and the rest. I came up with this idea because of stress. Doctors took tests, blood, urine, saliva, leather. They took pictures, scans, and x-rays. The results came in a week. Head physician called Kryakov into the office and closed the door. On the key said that the results. It's impossible that it doesn't happen, that it laboratory error. Light and completely clean. No traces. Cold dust. No pipes from the old ones. Inflammation. No tissue changes. Like a person who has never worked under. Earth like a baby's. The blood is strange. The composition is inhuman. There are cells that shouldn't be there. They, similar to red blood cells, but larger, denser, with a different structure. They glow faintly, but they glow green. Light in the dark. Under a microscope, a drop. Blood looks like a small star. The skin has changed. The top layer is denser than. The average person's is thicker. Cells arranged differently in even rows like bricks in the wall. This provides protection from what the doctor didn't know, but protection. The head doctor asked directly, "What's wrong with you? What did you do?" Kryakov answered honestly, "Nothing. I just lived there, ate, drank, slept. Oh." The doctor didn't believe me and asked not to. Tell no one. He said that they will send the test to Moscow, to the institute. Let them sort out there. In the meantime, it is necessary. Keep quiet. Otherwise, questions will start. Bad questions. Kryakov was silent, returned home, sat down. Sofa, looking at the wall. Lydia was cooking. Soup. Anton sat in his room. Not. Went out. The wife put the plate on the table. Kryakov looked. Soup, meat, potatoes. Normal food. He tried it and swallowed it. And felt wrong. The taste is wrong. How? As if I was eating not food, but dead matter without life, without energy. Just a mass, which needs to be digested. He finished his spoon. The second, my stomach twisted. It doesn't hurt, but unpleasant. The body rejected it, didn't want it. He put the plate down and said no. Hungry. Lydia was offended. You haven't been here for 10 years. I ate normally, but now you refuse. Soup? Kryakov did not explain. How? Explain that your body is no longer accepts human food, that it switched to a different diet. Mushrooms on liquid, on something that glows. Green light underground? He didn't sleep at night. He lay there and looked at. Ceiling. Lydia's nearby, breathing evenly, calmly. He turned and looked at her. My wife has grown old. Wrinkles, gray hair. Tired eyes. 10 years without a husband. 1 child. Work. Loans. She lived her life, but he didn't. He, frozen, preserved in the depths. 1,000 M in a cave with green mushrooms and gray creatures. He stood up, walked over to the mirror, and turned it on. Light looked at myself. The face is young. The skin is smooth. The eyes are clear. 38 years old, as 10 years ago. He took off his shirt, looked at the chest. The lines are green, thin, barely noticeable. They walked from the center, chest to shoulders, down to stomach, up to neck. The web is like the roots of a tree under. Skin. He turned off the light. The lines lit up, faintly, but visible as a green light, like mushrooms in the cave, like blood under. Microscope, like liquid in a column. Kryakov realized that he was no longer a man. Not. Fully. Something inside has changed. Something was built in, rewritten, reconfigured. He became a different hybrid. A man outside, something else inside. They called in the morning, an unfamiliar number, a voice. Masculine, even without emotions. He introduced himself as Sergei Viktorovich from Institute of Medical Research. He said that he received Kryakov's test from Vorkuta. He said that the case was unique. He said he wanted to meet tomorrow in the city administration building. Kryakov agreed. Arrived on time. Administration building. 3rd floor, office number 17. Knocked. Came in. There were 3 people sitting at the table. Sergei Viktorovich in the middle, about 50 years old, gray-haired, suit. There's a woman on the left, about 40 years old and white, in a robe, glasses, stern face. On the right, young man, about 30 years old, jeans jacket. There's a sports bag on the floor nearby. Sergei Viktorovich pointed to a chair. Kryakov sat down. The conversation began. Questions about the collapse, about the cave, about the mushrooms. Kryakov, he told the story honestly, without embellishment. Sergei Viktorovich listened, nodded, and wrote down. The woman was silent and looked. Young. The man looked out the window. When Kryakov finished, Sergei Viktorovich put down the pen and said that it was interesting. He said that an inspection was needed. I asked Kryakov to show me what he brought. With you, stones and plate. Kryakov took out the package, unfolded it, put the stones on the table. Sergei Viktorovich took one and turned it over in his hands. Heavy, dense. The woman put on gloves and took. The second stone brought it to my eyes. I looked at it for a long time. Young man, bent down and looked. The face is not, has changed. He didn't show the hook plate. He said that. She's downstairs at home. I forgot to bring her. Sergei Viktorovich frowned and asked for tomorrow. It is imperative to bring it. Kryakov nodded. The conversation ended. Sergei Viktorovich asked Kryakov not to go anywhere. He said he would arrive in a few days. Another group of specialists will undergo additional examinations. Kryakov agreed. I went outside and went home. Felt that he is being watched. Turned around. Young, the man from the office, stood at the entrance to building, smoking, looking at the phone. Kryakov quickened his pace. At home, he had the plate, wrapped it in fabric, put it in a box, stuck it under floorboard in the barn, left the stones in plain sight, 1 on the table, 2 in the closet. If they take it, let them take it. The plate is not, we'll give it back. I didn't know why. Just, I felt that it was important that this thing, you can't show it to people in costumes and in white coats. In 3 days, Kryakov stopped sleeping. Not at all, because it isn't. I just didn't want to. Went to bed. The bed next to Lydia. Closed his eyes. Lay there until the morning. Without sleep. The brain worked, the body rested. But sleep did not come. as if internal. The mechanism was switched off, the part that is responsible for fatigue, for the need for restoration. Lydia didn't notice. She fell asleep quickly, woke up late. Kryakov stood up in 5 a.m., went out into the yard, looked at sky. The sun rose slowly, gray, dull, the northern sun that warms. It's bad even in summer. He looked and I felt something squeezing inside, an unpleasant sensation, as if the body rejects light, not bright, artificial. He needs a different light, green, soft, underground. Food has become a problem. There are no more hooks. Could eat meat. I tried it, I swallowed it, but the stomach returned everything back within an hour. Fish is the same. The bread passed, but not. Fill me up like I was eating cardboard. There were vegetables. Tolerable, but only raw. Boiled, fried, and stewed ones cause nausea. Lydia became worried. Are you sick? Need to. To the doctor. Kryakov refused. Which doctor? Everything is fine. Just a stomach ache after 10. I've gotten used to something different over the years. It takes time. But time did not help. Every day, it was getting worse. A week later, he was completely stopped eating in front of his family. He said that. Ate at work. He didn't have a job. But Lydia didn't ask. She saw that. My husband has changed. Not externally, but deeper. How? As if something had settled inside him. Alien, and it slowly displaced. Person. Anton avoided his father and went out. The room, when he entered, did not answer. Questions. Didn't look into the eyes. Kryakov. I understood that the boy was afraid not of his father, but of the one that father became. The creature that looks like a human, but is human, is no longer. One night Kryakov woke up from a sound. He didn't wake up. He didn't sleep. I heard something quiet, knocking on the window, regularly every 5 seconds. He stood up, came over, and looked. Nobody. The street is empty. The lights are on. Dimly, the tapping continued. Kryakov listened. The sound did not come from outside, from the inside, from the wall, from under the floor. He went downstairs, went out into yard, opened, barn. The sound became louder and came from underneath, floorboards where the plate was hidden. Kryakov lifted the board and took out a box, unfolded the fabric. The plate was lying on place, but the symbols on it were glowing. Faintly, barely noticeably, but they glowed. Green light. Kryakov took the plate and brought it to his eyes. The symbols moved slowly, smoothly, like alive. The lines curved, the circles were spinning. It was painful to watch, but it's impossible to tear yourself away. He stood and I watched until my eyes started to water. Then he put the plate back and buried it. Deeper, covered with earth, returned to the house. Went to bed. Lydia was sleeping. Kryakov closed my eyes and saw. This is my first dream in a week. But it's unusual, bright, clear, like reality. He's back again, underground in the large hall where it stands. Column with liquid around the creature. A lot more than 50. They are standing, all around, looking at him. One comes up, extends his hand. Kryakov takes it. On the body, a wave passes by, warm and pleasant. A voice in my head, not words, but images. Come back. Your body is changing. Soon, it will be too late. You will die at the top. Here, you will live. Kryakov woke up. Lydia, near. Breathes evenly. He looked at. Watch. 5 a.m. It's still dark outside. I stood up, went to the mirror, and turned on the light. The lines on the chest became brighter. Now there were more. They went from the center to the hands, to the legs, to the neck. The entire chest is covered with a net. Green capillaries that glow in the darkness. He turned off the light. The room was plunged into darkness. The chest did not glow brightly, but noticeable like a lantern under a shirt. Kryakov. I put on a sweatshirt and left the bedroom. On Anton was sitting in the kitchen, drinking tea, looking at. Phone, heard footsteps, raised my head. I saw my father and froze. Kryakov approached. Table, sat down opposite. They looked at each other for a minute, silently. Anton was the first to speak. Dad, was he really there underground? Kryakov nodded. Is it true? Anton was silent for a moment, then asked, quiet, there were people there. Kryakov shook his head. Not people, others. Anton looked into the cup. And you now? Also different? Kryakov didn't answer. He didn't know what to say. The boy is right. He is different. Not quite human anymore. Something in between. A hybrid of two worlds that is not. Belongs to no one. Anton stood up, walked to the door, stopped, turned around. Mom cries at night. She thinks. I can't hear. But I hear her. Says that you didn't come back alone. What about someone else with you? Kryakov lowered his head. Anton went out. Sound. Steps on the stairs. The slam of a door. Silence. Mom is right. I didn't come back alone. We arrived again at 10 a.m. Same. A young man, plus two others. One in. Uniform, lieutenant's shoulder straps. Second in. Civil, leather jacket, sports. Bag. There was a knock and Lydia opened the door. They asked Kryakov. He came out. The young man introduced himself. Igor from Institute. Need to drive extra. Tests. Kryakov asked where. Igor smiled. Near. City Hospital. Second building. About 2 hours, no more. Kryakov looked at the lieutenant. This, necessarily. The lieutenant nodded. Necessarily. Orders from above. Let's go in a jeep. Tinted windows. The interior is clean and smells like leather. Kryakov was sitting. From behind between Igor and the man in the jacket. Lieutenant at the wheel. They rode in silence. Kryakov looked out the window. Familiar streets. Familiar houses. The city has not changed. Only people. Became different, indifferent, tired. It was as if the life had sucked everything out of them. Alive. We didn't arrive at the hospital. Industrial zone. On the outskirts. Old hangars, rusty. Fences. The jeep stopped at the gate. The guard opened the door and let me in. Let's move on. Inside. Stopped at a gray building without. Signs. Igor came out first. Went. Kryakov did not move. Where are we going? This is not. Hospital. Igor turned around. Smile. Disappeared. He said, let's go, let's do it without. Nonsense. The man in the jacket took Krukovo under the elbow. He pulled out hard and painfully. From the car, led to the building. The lieutenant was walking. Behind. Hand on the holster. There's a corridor inside. Doors on both sides, daylight lamp. Light, linoleum on the floor. It smelled of chlorine and something else. Chemistry, drugs. Hospital. But not an ordinary hospital. Something specialized. They took me into a room at the end of a 3x4 corridor. The walls are white, the floor is tiled. In the center, a couch next to a table with tools. Wall stand with droppers, monitor, wires. There is no window, only a ventilation. Grill under the ceiling. Igor pointed to the couch. Lie down. Kryakov didn't lie down, asked directly. What do you want? Igor sighed. The tests were explained to you. You need to understand what's wrong with your body. Is happening. Kryakov looked at the instruments on. Table. Scalpels, clamps, syringes. Many. Syringes of different sizes. These are not tests. This is an experiment. The man in the jacket stepped forward. Let's. No performances. Lie down voluntarily, or we'll put it in forcibly. Kryakov appreciated. Distance. 5 m to the door. There's more in the hallway. People. Voices can be heard. You won't escape. He lay down on the couch. Igor came up and started. Roll up your sleeve. Kryakov is not. Resisted. Igor took the syringe. Filled. Found a vein. Inserted the needle. Blood. Flowed into the tube. Dark. almost black, with a green tint. Igor stopped and looked at the phone. On blood, on Kryakov. What is this? Kryakov was silent. Igor pulled out the needle and brought it up, tube to the light. The blood was glowing. Weak, but it is visible with a green light, like mushrooms under. Lan. Igor walked away and called someone. Anne, a woman, entered the room, the same one from office in the administration. In white, robe, glasses, stern face. I took it. I picked up the phone, looked, and her face didn't change. She said calmly, "Take more, a liter." Kryakov tensed up. "A liter of blood is dangerous." The woman looked at him. "Not. Don't worry, you won't die. Your blood recovers faster than usual." Igor took a large syringe and inserted the needle. Again, pulled the blood slowly. Test tube behind. Test tube. Kryakov lay there, looking at ceiling, counting heartbeats. 70, 80, 100. No dizziness, no weakness. The body functions normally, as if losing a liter of blood means nothing. When they finished, Igor walked away and put test tubes on the table. The woman approached. Krukova sat down on the chair next to her. Let's talk calmly like human beings. Tell me in detail about those you saw." Down. Kryakov repeated what I told you before. Gray creatures. Black eyes, silent movements, mushrooms. Light, liquid. The woman listened and nodded. Then she asked how many of them there were. Kryakov thought about it. "I don't know exactly. The man saw 50, maybe more." The woman wrote it down. They said. Kryakov shook his head. "Not words, images. In my head. Woman, put the pen down. Do you understand that what you are describing is impossible? Under the earth, at a depth of more than a kilometer, life can exist. There is no light there, no oxygen, no conditions." Kryakov shrugged. Shoulders. "I was there. I saw. Believe it or not. No, it's your business.